Hey, this is Janine, your keynote speaker on everything just brain, creativity coming together and learning. And I am so excited just to really to talk to you and bring you up to speed on some of the new research coming out on artificial intelligence, our creativity, our thinking, and of course, how our next generation is coming up. I will be hosting a free webinar this weekend as we celebrate our 250th just anniversary of our nation, but really, as we come into this next era of our nation's journey of life, what does it mean to understand this beautiful organ? So I just wanted to really just talk to you and bring some voices so you can see the latest research, bring some voices from MIT, the research they're doing over there, from Wharton Neuroscience and the research they're doing over there, and then say, well, what does this mean for us? Just so you know, this is our moment of inflection. I honestly believe that. Being aware of what artificial intelligence is doing on the back end, the front end, the middle end, everywhere. I think there's a lot of people still sleeping on how this will impact their lives. I am watching lectures at Oxford University and of course at the other areas and really starting to get a little bit concerned that there's a lot of people not really focused on what this could be doing at the 360 level, like just around every aspect of our thinking, our interaction with one another, our interaction with these devices and machines and ways of thinking. And so I want to remind you, and I do talk about it in one of the videos I'm going to show, is that 2007, that was really the introduction of social media, and we just all jumped on, right? The kids jumped on, we jumped on. Hey, we can connect. And now it is almost 20 years later, and the research is just now coming out within the past 5 years or so about the mental effects of our thinking, the social connection effects, the isolation, just loneliness epidemic we're in, right? We're more connected online, but we're more lonely in person, and also the identity issues that a lot of us are having, and what our kids are going through with the cyberbullying and all of those things. And so, what we're trying to understand is we don't want that to happen with AI. We don't want to look at it in the rearview mirror and say, "Oops, we should have did more testing. We should have rolled out more slowly. We should have had some pilot groups going on just to see those effects." Right? We're looking at it in hindsight, and so we have to look at it in foresight if that's even possible. And so I'm going to just be sharing some clips. I'm going to be sharing some insights, and then of course about my contribution to this. I can sit silently by and let things roll on through, and just try to take care of myself and my family and make sure we're all good. But that is not why I was put on the earth. I'm here to teach. And so anything that I learn, I'm here to try to give it out to our communities and our nation so we can just be a step ahead as much as possible in order to make the best decisions for ourselves and for our loved ones. And so check out this. I found this one wonderful researcher out of MIT, and she is talking about some research that she just did and how it is not yet peer reviewed, but why she felt she needed to get it out to the mainstream as soon as possible. This is Dr. Natalia over at MIT, and she has a moderator that's going to bring her in.
Study, why did you feel it was so important to put it out before preprint?
With this unprecedented speed of release of these tools in all aspects of our lives, education, workspace, etc., in 4 to 12 months, right, where reviews usually take place, some actually can take up to 2 years. It might be just late. We will end up with some, GPT kindergarten, some other things without proper data. So why do we need to move very fast and break things so fast in our own backyard when let's just actually explore this, right? Let's have more data. And super secret, it doesn't even need to be brain data, right? Let's just test it. Hey, without, does it make a difference? Does it make a change? And more importantly, include all opinions that would matter. In this case, teachers, educators, caretakers, right? If you're talking about children, where I think it would be so critical, because We all know those brains are developing. So why do we need to rush these deployments, right? Let's maybe pause, evaluate, and there might be excellent use cases. This technology is not going anywhere.
All right, I love that. She said, "This technology is not going anywhere. Why are we rushing?" And I really appreciate her point, and I wanted to bring that clip to the forefront because she is exactly right. Of course, as long as the research that I've been seeing, they're rushing because it's an arms race with against some other countries. We don't want another country to get to certain points with AGI and full generalized or super intelligence before America does. And so they're rushing with that. But all the researchers are saying, but it's rushing to the people, and the people don't have enough guardrails and boundaries in order to understand what it's actually doing to our brains and to our children's brains and our systems and things. And so being mindful of that, I really appreciate that of her giving us our research or giving us her research. We want to be also mindful and grateful that we have to understand how academia works. Sometimes it can take years for them to review the papers and then to really get it out into the community. And so, what does it look like? To have academia be a better bridge to the community. People like me who are translators, we can sit with the thick papers and read the 8-point font. Why they put their papers all in 8-point font, I don't know. And read that, but understand how we can communicate it to an 8-year-old or communicate it to someone, just regular folks who don't have that academia background. And so time is of the essence, especially now with AI, because we can't wait 8 to 10 years for them to share the research on, oh, by the way, your brain is shrinking when you do this and this and this, and you're not aware of that and that and that, right? And so that is one thing that I wanted you to be aware of. There's also some other terms coming out with the research that they're getting out sooner than later. Thank you so much. And I sat down with two of the other main researchers over at Wharton Neuroscience Department, and they are looking at a term called cognitive surrender. And I'll be talking about that in the webinar that I'm doing July 5th and 7th for anyone, but I'm targeting it towards parents and people in charge of groups, right? And what cognitive surrender is they will tell you when I show you the clip, but we're looking at what it means to give away your power to think. Here is Dr. Shaw and Dr. Nave over at the Wharton Neuroscience Department that this was going on.
Well, I mean, first of all, thanks for reading the paper. Looks like you've got quite a few notes.
Please allow us to really dive into this term. What is cognitive surrender, and how did you even come upon this realization that this was going on?
Well, I mean, first of all, thanks for reading the paper. Looks like you've got quite a few notes there. Yeah, I mean, with the availability of artificial intelligence, we, have the option now to outsource thinking. And so basically cognitive surrender is the outsourcing of the thinking process and adoption without verification. So letting AI do the thinking for us, really. And I think the term cognitive surrender is very appealing because it captures something that we see in others in nature and see in ourselves as we integrate AI into our lives, right? It is a very powerful technology, and it can be very easy to just accept what it's giving you without really thinking much about it. And it turns out, we're seeing a lot of new exciting research that engaging in cognitive surrender as this psychological mechanism of adopting AI's outputs without thinking or deliberating, likely and has some serious consequences like de-skilling, or maybe not developing certain cognitive capabilities like critical thinking in the first place.
So there is a lot there, and that episode is not published yet. I will let you know. Please connect with me or visit me at JennineLetford.com, and you can see more work there. Connect with me so you can know when that full episode launches, where he goes and his other research partner goes deeper into cognitive surrender and fast thinking, slow thinking, and now AI thinking and what that looks like. And so I wanted to share that. And so there is cognitive surrender, which is a new term, hippocampal atrophy. Right. So this can happen with just advanced technologies, not just with AI. A quick story. I take my son to the Phoenix Boys Choir, and which is great, by the way. Choir is great for your brain. And this is something that we went to, once a week. And I would just, get in the car, and the GPS would just, I would just plug that in. And then I realized one morning I was sitting in my home, and I tried to close my eyes and imagine myself driving from the choir building to my home. And I couldn't map it out. I couldn't see the way. And it alarmed me because I've been driving that route for several months. And so what that showed me in real time, I always feel like I'm meant to teach things that I experience myself, is my hippocampus did not log or did not encode the route because of the GPS. My brain's like saying, well, you're using GPS, so I don't have to use any brain architecture for this because it's right there in front of you, as opposed to pulling it from my memory and needing to retrieve it in real time in order to get my family home. And so now my son and I have this pact that we don't use GPS for places that we go on a regular basis. Now, if it's a new place I've never been before, sure, that's cool. But places that are repetitive, I need to recall them from my memory. And there's also the wonderful research with the London cab drivers that before Uber and all this stuff, they had to memorize all of the streets around London and take a very, very demanding test in order to get their cab driving license. And they looked at the hippocampus of these drivers, and they're actually physically bigger because they had to map out the whole area of London, which I've been to London. It is beautiful and very complex. The streets are like just a spider web practically. And their brain shows that process, right? And I always tell people you can, even an untrained nine can look at a brain and not tell if it's a contractor or a librarian. But Dr. David Eagleman says in his book, Live Wired, an untrained eye can look at a brain and tell if it's a musician without even really going into it, because music changes the brain physically. Well, guess what? Being a cab driver does. So I guess I have to amend that statement. A musician or a cab driver, you can see that difference. I don't know if you can see it without a microscope or anything for cab driving, but definitely for being a musician. And so that is something that I want you to understand, right? I'm all about giving you strategies you can implement. Try not to use your GPS so much, especially the places that you've been to several times, that you should know how to get there because it's not your first time. Your brain will thank you for it, and you are exercising your brain and having your spatial parts of the brain that need to get activated when you do that. So there's cognitive surrender we need to be aware of, hippocampal atrophy, intuition inhibition I'm talking about in our webinar and the classes that I'm putting out there for parents and leaders. Intuition inhibition. This is so important. And when we talk about the arts, right, we talk about our intuition and how things make us feel, and how we just have that gut feeling, right? Well, there's a lot of just behind the scenes aspects to that, right? A lot of us have lived life where we just kind of, our intuition was telling us something. And so with AI, we can have an intuition inhibition. It can really quiet our ability to listen to our inner voice and our inner wisdom. Because as Dr. Shaw pointed out in the clip, if we just automatically think AI is right, or we have in our brain that it has a higher authority, or it has more, of course, it has access to more information, but therefore its answer is more important than what we can come up with ourselves. If that's the belief structure, that we're engaging with this technology with, we might we might tend to squash our own convictions, right, or our own points, and just release or surrender, not just cognition, but our ethics and what we feel may be the right way to go. And so we need to be aware of that. And I connect that to confidence, to the confidence crisis that we're in. Where if students are dealing with this and engaging with this, when I was in high school, I had to think about my answers and I had to think about my project, and that I thought that this was the right way to go, and then have confidence to present it. Well, if students are now surrendering or relinquishing all of the power, basically, to these advanced technologies, will they have confidence in their own creativity? Right? These are just things for us to think about, and the jury's still out. The research is not yet done, but these are things that I'll be talking about more in our webinar, July 5th and 7th. And go to JanineLetford.com to know more about those. And I'll be talking about it more in our classes that we're actually setting up for teachers and leaders to say, we're human. What does it look like to stay and develop as humans as these technologies are coming on the scenes, and to lead others, especially your small ones who are developing their brains and still developing critical thinking. They're developing how to weigh decisions and how to look at things from multiple perspectives, and feel their gut reaction to things when things don't feel right. If that gets squashed, they're going to have a hard time making decisions in their future, where they can't depend on patterns. They can't depend on previous knowledge. They have to invent in real time. And so what does it look like? And that's why we're also going to talk about the arts and arts education, and how the arts education will build the leaders of tomorrow. And so I just wanted to end with this last clip. And I just really looked for just some great AI thought leaders, so they can give our or their opinion on this. And then you'll see me interjecting throughout of talking about the webinar class and everything that we are doing. We are talking about brain capital, which is brain health and brain skills in the era of AI, and what does it mean for us to remain and continue to develop and shine and be.
Make these things real much sooner than people would have expected. AI may accelerate our engineering capabilities and our scientific discovery capabilities to make these things real much sooner than people would have expected. This will represent a wholesale change in our society in the way that we think about how we raise kids, how we educate them, and what they're capable of doing.
Artificial intelligence. What does it mean for you? But even more importantly, what does it mean for your kids?
We have to prepare kids for absolutely anything.
Hi, I'm Janine Letford, and I'm an educator who looks at the process and the progress of creative thinking on our brains. But now, with artificial intelligence on the scene, it's a whole new ballgame.
The AI industry today is the only industry in America that has less regulations than sandwich shops.
So then there's this period of aggressive deployment where AI is being integrated into everything. But it's not AI like it is today, where it's this sort of weak and fallible chatbot. We're talking the army of superintelligences is being integrated into everything, which means it's better at doing the integration than any human would be.
What AI can do and what AI can't do, and therefore what should we be teaching kids in particular, and what skills should be fostering. My philosophy is we should never assume AI will never be able to do something. And the reality is we cannot predict the future.
Actually rare to find somebody that asks a different question, which is, well, now that we have this capability, how should we be changing ourselves to be best suited to operate in this new world?
Social media came out in 2007, but we're just now seeing the research on what it has been doing to the mental health, emotional health, and creative health of our children and ourselves. We cannot wait that long to see what artificial intelligence will be doing to our brains and the brains of our children.
Because you know what? The truth is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? So teach your children and yourselves to debate everything.
As deepfakes get more sophisticated, what we are seeing is that people need to think critically about the content that they consume. They need to question it. They need to find another source to validate whether or not something is legitimate.
Now, with the exponential growth of artificial intelligence, it will be a mainstream, a ubiquitous part of our society. So we have to be aware of the cognitive, creative, emotional, and even ethical effects it's having on ourselves, our family, and our children.
Okay, what is AI appropriate for, and can it be used in those contained ways versus being in awe of like, oh, the AI can do everything and we will give up all of our authority and all of our judgment.
Gladly, there's a lot of research coming out, and I've sat down with the researchers to see the cognitive, creative, and even emotional effects on artificial intelligence on our brains. Yes, there are a lot of benefits of AI. It can help us work faster, be more productive, but at what cost?
And I'd say the final thing that we're going to have to watch out for, and we saw this with social media after the fact, is the relationships kids are going to build with these systems. We are now giving kids access to an infinite, never-ending opportunity to engage with an imaginary friend, something that is always on, can answer all of their questions. That is a recipe for a new type of addiction.
This is what this course is about. We're going through 10 weeks for parents, caretakers, and even leaders, anyone who has a brain, to talk about how to future-proof your family and yourself in the era of AI. You can say I've been around robots for a while, having a few experiences teaching with them. Hey, my son even met his first robot at 1. But now artificial intelligence will be common. It will be a mainstream in our society. So we have to be cognitively aware.
I tend to believe that everything that humans can do will be done better by AI other than being human. So the one skill that I ask people to double down on is to learn to be human.
Kids can pivot, adapt, and think critically about the world around them. And most of those skills don't actually have anything to do with technology. They require deeper thinking. Critical thinking is absolutely vital, and discuss the ideas and have those ideas challenged. Kids need to play more in the age of advanced technologies. We feel like we have to lean into technology for the sake of it, but it's actually the other skills that we need to make sure we are doubling down on in the age of advanced technologies.
Join me for a 10-week session on looking at the 7 pillars of building brain capital, which is brain health and brain skills. And we'll talk about how to make your brain and their brains future-proof in the era of AI.
So even though there's a lot of pressure to adapt to this moment, remember it is the non-technical skills that we need to be centering, because we are preparing kids for a future we cannot see, which means we have to prepare them for anything, regardless of the way technology evolves.
All right. And so thank you. I do have my amazing supporter, Mr. Mike, who's an author as well. And my son loves reading your book. He says cognitive surrender, intuition, inhibition, new terms to think about. I remember how many phone numbers you used to have memorized. Thank you. That is an example a lot of us use. And yeah, your brain is as efficient as possible. This is a wonderful gift to have. And that's why we're talking about how do we really optimize it and make sure we're focusing on it as advanced technologies come on the scene. So it's good to see you, Mike, and thanks for your support. And so did you see the frame on there for all of you where the face was like, that always freaks me out. To see how advanced these robots look. They look like humans. And so they talked about de-skilling, right? We're trying to reskill everyone and people have to reskill, but then some of these technologies are de-skilling us at the same time. So we have to watch out for that. And then Sinead, the woman there in front of the green background, she talked about how kids need to play more, right? I was hearing things from teachers or parents or even a little 6-year-old came up to me. We were at a book fair and we were passing out information and giving books away. And he was just like, yeah, I had to stay in from recess because something happened. I don't know. But in California, it's now against district rules in LAUSD to holding kids from recess because we understand, number one, they need to go play. And Sinead mention that, but the cerebellum is a part of monitoring the prefrontal cortex, and the cerebellum mostly gets activated in movement and balance, and it helps you move. And so for the kids to get out and move, get out into the sun, their brains actually need that. So it needs to be against district policy to hold in any child from recess for whatever reason, because their brains actually need that movement in order to think well. So keep that in mind. And so I just wanted to talk about that. Lastly, I will mention that July 2nd is World Brain Day, and we are excited to have something called Brain Capital at the Capitol. I'm trying to share my screen and let me see this. There we go. Can you see this? All right. So July 22nd is World Brain Day, and that is when we launched our I Am Creative, right? Preventing dementia and building brain capital with neurosomatic creativity. Last year, we were on the news and everything, and that was fun. This year, Brain Capital at the Capitol. We in Arizona are bringing the top leaders around Arizona to the Capitol at the old Capitol Museum to talk about this. Okay, what are we doing? Texas is doing a great job with their METIS program on bringing brain capital to the forefront and making sure people are talking about it and figuring out ways to integrate it into their communities. Florida is trying to be the brain capital coast. And like I said, Texas is trying to be the brain capital of the world. So Arizona, I'm trying to have us be a part of the conversation as well. But you don't have to live in Arizona to do something about this. We are teaching, and I'm going to go teach my Zoom class right now. We are teaching young people, but all people, how to engage with their government to say brain health and brain capital, which is brain health and brain skills, is important. How can we get just more policies to support the brain capital of our children and our citizens, their families as well? So in Arizona, we're bringing people physically together to start the conversation and strategize, but we are asking you to send an email, do a call, go visit, fill out the forms, find out who your representatives are. You have state senators and state representatives, and then you have a national senators and national representatives who represent your nation in Washington, D.C. So be mindful of that. But on July 22nd, we're just asking you to engage your government, your state government, your local government. We got a proclamation for our city of Phoenix, our city of Avondale and Buckeye, but we're also got the proclamation for the state of Arizona that we will reveal on July 22nd. And so it's your brain, it's your voice, it's your family. Are you going to speak up for brain capital for your people? All right. And so that is that. Thank you so much for hearing this live, getting informed about AI. We have our webinar coming up. Go visit JanineLetford.com. I'm sorry, I do not have that banner up and ready to go. But go visit JanineLetford.com, and it is spelled GENEIN Letford.com. There we go. And we can show that JanineLetford.com has all the information about the webinars. It has the information about the class coming up and the book release. We're releasing My Brain Symphony, which goes over the 7 pillars of brain health and brain capital. And we're just trying to empower families, just everyday people who are just trying to live their life and figure out what's going on with this information and get it out of academia and into the hands of people in communities who really need this information sooner than later. Thanks so much. Take care of your brain. Know that your brain is beautiful, and we'll see you next time. Bye.